Just recently, something big happened in DeFi, which was what happened with Kelp. So Kelp protocol was hacked, $232 million dollars were stolen. The people who stole that Kelp token walked over to Aave and created a collateral to borrow against real ETH, and then basically walked away with real ETH, and Aave was left with that stolen money that wasn't worth anything anymore. Can you unpack for us a little bit what happened on that weekend on Aave, and how do you look at this?
For anyone who's not following the incident closely, Kelp DAO was a staking protocol for ETH. So you put ETH in, you get back rsETH, which is a wrapped version of it that accrues yield from underlying ETH staking. So the intent is that you have one ETH backing one rsETH. What the hackers did was they corrupted a bridge, then minted more rsETH than there was backing of it. So something to the tune of like 20% overall. So you effectively now have about 80% asset backing for this asset. So other things equal, any rsETH you hold should be worth 20% less. So that's going to be very important as we get to what happened next. Then, as you pointed out, Mark, the hacker or the perpetrator took the extra minted rsETH that's now worth less, and they put it on Aave and then immediately borrowed ETH. So the reason they did this is because if they hadn't, then rsETH could have frozen their assets. So they're sitting on it and then they can't do anything with it. They can't move it. So they immediately then sought to borrow good collateral or good assets against it, which is ETH, which is not possible to be frozen by any one person. So they borrowed that from Aave, and this created a problem for Aave. Normally, in a normal state of affairs, what would happen is that you have an asset that's worth $100. You've borrowed, let's say, $90 against it. As the value of your collateral ticks down from 100, it gets liquidated. So it hits a threshold level, and then Aave starts selling it through liquidation bots and secondary markets. The risk herein, though, is that you had a jump to default risk. So the asset was worth 1 minute, $100, and then the next it was worth roughly $80. So it bypassed the level at which it could have been liquidated without a loss. And so therefore you ended up with bad debt on lending protocols, the most notable being Aave. So what then happened was you saw many other users of Aave start to pull liquid collateral from there. So they pulled stable coins, and then others who were a little bit more savvy borrowed more assets. So if I give you $100 of collateral, Mark, and then borrow $80 from you, if you default, I have a problem. So I can there's two things I can do. I can either try and withdraw my surplus collateral from you, or I can try and borrow more from you. Now, ordinarily, if you're having bad debt issues, you wouldn't do that for me. But because Aave is an autonomous protocol or an immutable protocol, users could do that. So what this meant was the utilization on Aave spiked to 100, which means now borrowers are paying 15, 16% interest on there. So a lot of folks are underwater on their positions, and there is this lingering concern of bad debt there. For the record, we have partnered with Aave. We think highly of the team there. And so, we hope this situation gets worked out, but I'm doing my best to try and explain it for the viewers at home.